One of the biggest reasons people stop progressing on their motorcycles is because they forego deliberate practice. I mean, when's the last time you saw a dude on a big Harley bagger doing figure eights in a parking lot? A lot of times when people ride motorcycles, they get good enough to be able to safely go down the road and they think, that's it, I'm good. When in reality, there's a lot more left to learn. If you want to continue to enhance your riding skill, you need to have somewhat structured, intentional efforts to refine a specific skill. Here's a perfect example from your own Papa Yam. I was never that good at wheelies. Yeah, I could clutch up or power wheelie and chase them out a little bit, but like slow balance point wheelies had eluded me. So I got a Grom and I hit the parking lot with the intention of actually learning how to do real wheelies using proper technique. And now, after putting some time and effort in the lot, I'm making some pretty good progress.
Yeah!
Because I put the effort into actually slow down and focus on a specific skill and analyze my progress. So if you want to keep improving, you have to have some sort of plan in place beyond just casually riding around. If you want to master trail braking or cornering or slow speed balance, you need to have a goal and make a plan to achieve it. Instead of just quote unquote being a better rider and hoping that the more miles you rack up is just going to magically make you better, you got to break your riding down into specific techniques you want to focus on. Create markers for success and have measurable, attainable goals to work towards. While new riders don't need to focus their attention on recording their rides for content's sake, capturing some footage on an action camera can be a great way to go back after a ride and analyze your riding. Essentially, you're not going to get better if you don't try to get better. If you're always casual about riding, your progress will be much slower than if you set goals and take deliberate action to practice the more advanced skills. This is why I don't really agree with the whole idea that people say, oh, I've been riding for 20 years, I'm good. It's like, well, what did you do in those 20 years? Did you just ride from bar to bar, do a couple long road trips, or did you meaningfully practice? It makes a big difference. Fear is one of the biggest obstacles for improving as a motorcyclist. It may be one of the biggest obstacles for improving many aspects of your life. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure. You must face the fear head on. Wake up at 4 a.m., do a cold plunge, invest in crypto, drink raw eggs, enter ketosis. Follow for more Sigma life tips. But in regards to motorcycling specifically, fear is a major obstacle. Rightfully so, having a certain amount of risk aversion and reverence for the serious nature of motorcycles is super important for staying safe out there. But you can't let fear stunt your progression. A lot of newer riders are afraid of riding on the freeway or leaning in corners or even riding in traffic. Fear can lead to hesitation or overcorrection, which can actually be more unsafe in certain scenarios. If you're too afraid to lean the bike over in a corner, you may end up going wide, which puts you more at risk of going off the road or turning onto oncoming traffic. If you're afraid of locking up your wheels, you may not brake hard enough during an emergency stop. Fear may also affect your body positioning, making you stiff and rigid, which can negatively affect the way in which you control the bike. So while you think your fear may lead to more cautious riding, as I outlined, it very well may have negatively impact your riding more than you think. Fear often comes from a lack of experience, which just means you need to get out there more often and confront different aspects of riding to learn how to confidently navigate them. Fear might also come from a close call or a past crash, in which you just have to get back on the horse, as they say. You can't let a prior mistake turn into a mental block. I'm a big believer that if at all possible, after you crash or have a low side or do something silly on your bike, you gotta get back on the bike as soon as possible. Again, small example of me on this Grom as I'm trying to learn how to wheelie, but if I loop it, I pretty much try to get back on the bike and immediately get another wheelie in within 10 minutes if the bike isn't broken. Practice and experience will lead to more confidence, and this confidence can quell your fears and create a stronger foundation to ride purposefully and safely. Be relaxed, be confident, and be smart when you ride. You certainly want to remain cautious, but you don't want that caution to make you scared, because when you're scared, you're not going to ride as well. You may not progress in your riding if you're ignoring body positioning. You might have a strong understanding of throttle control and braking, but beyond controlling the motorcycle's functions, you must be cognizant of the effect your body has on the bike. The relationship between rider and machine is super important when it comes to motorcycling. You don't need to be doing your best MotoGP impression trying to drag me through the Whataburger drive-thru, but even in the most standard street riding, the way you position your body will affect the ride. You want your back to be straight but not strained, grip the tank with your knees to take pressure off your hands, use a loose but firm grip on the handlebar. Being too rigid will reduce your control and increase fatigue. When cornering, lean with the bike and not against it. A lot of new riders confuse counterbalancing used during slow speed riding with counter steering used when turning at speed. Just as you want to be cautious but not afraid, when you ride, you want your body to be kind of relaxed but firm. If you're too stiff and rigid, you're going to tire yourself out and have less control of the bike. Your riding may also plateau if you never get outside feedback or pursue advanced rider training. Seat time is your most valuable asset to growing as a rider, but too much seat time without feedback of a more experienced rider or a rider coach can lead to bad habits becoming ingrained, making them way harder to break. Without someone there to point out your mistakes, you may not realize what those limitations are. Even if you're a fine enough rider, you may be missing out on all those little things that can really take your riding to the next level. Riding a motorcycle without proper feedback is really like riding on hard mode. There are often many techniques that you just haven't unlocked if the scope of your training is limited to the MSF course. So, being taught new advanced techniques from an experienced rider or coach may actually make riding easier. They hold the cryptic knowledge that can biohack your riding skill, but you'll never know it unless you deflate your ego and put yourself in the position to receive their bountiful advice. Without feedback or advanced training, it's super easy to get stuck in the same habits for years. Even if you're not a bad rider, you may find your skills have leveled off and you're not continuing to learn or progress. Getting outside perspective from more experienced riders can help you knock off the rust and start advancing again. It will give you more confidence that will not only make riding safer, but more enjoyable. We, of course, love Rockform for their rock-solid phone cases and motorcycle handlebar mounts, but they keep adding more and more new accessories that allow you to capitalize and expand on your existing setup. With a Rockform phone case in hand, you can attach it to a mount on your bike, on the dash of your car, and now even on a camera tripod. As more and more people get into motorcycle content creation, the Rockform tripod mount is a super convenient piece of kit. The 1/4-inch threads attached to any standard camera tripod, and the magnetic phone attachment allows you to super quickly attach your phone to get the perfect shot. The base of the mount is magnetic as well, so you can quickly slap the mount onto a metal surface, snap your phone onto the other side, and set up a shot without even having to use a tripod. Rockform has an astounding track record for high build quality and rugged durability, and this mount is no different. With a super strong magnet, especially paired with a Rockform case, you know your phone isn't going to budge. Rockform's been a long-time Yaminu partner, and their support is invaluable. If you enjoy your existing Rockform products and have an interest in using your phone for photography or video, click the link below and check out the tripod mount. Yaminu viewers get 25% discount as well if you use the code YN25. So hit that link in the description, use that code YN25 for 25% off. Thanks so much to Rockform for the support. Now let's get back to the show. If your motorcycle is not properly set up for your weight, size, or riding style, you could also be limiting your potential as a rider. If your bike isn't set up properly, it can make riding more difficult or uncomfortable. If your suspension is not dialed in, if it's too soft or too stiff, it might not inspire the most confidence when braking or cornering. If the overall ergonomic fit of your bike doesn't totally suit your size, that's going to work against you as well. I mean, we can't all be 120-pound Japanese men, you know? Your motorcycle might not be totally tailored specifically to you from the get-go. Even something as simple as having cheap tires may be limiting your progress as a rider because the feel isn't there and it doesn't make you confident. If your motorcycle has fully adjustable suspension, consider taking it to a suspension guru to get it fully dialed in. That's kind of the whole point. Or if you have more basic suspension, just dialing in the pre-lit and the sag can make a world of difference. When it comes to bike ergonomics, you can make some adjustments if you love the bike, but if it doesn't fit 100% perfectly, you can get handlebar risers or a taller or lower seat to make minor tweaks to the rider triangle. Even slight adjustments can make a significant impact in improving more control or comfort. Or something as simple as installing a windscreen can completely change your experience as well. Dialing in your bike to be best suited for your size can change the way the bike performs and allows you to maximize your control and inputs. If you're more comfortable on your bike, you'll be more focused and less fatigued. If you're more focused on your riding and less focused on how much your back hurts, you're going to have a leg up in improving your skill. Now, if suspension setup or ergonomic changes aren't doing the trick, you might have to make the tough realization that it could be your bike that's holding you back from growing as a rider. And it's not likely what you're thinking. It's your skills not being limited because your bike is too slow. If anything, it's the opposite. If you started on too powerful of a machine, you're going to be like 6 steps behind someone already learning to ride on a beginner bike. If you start too powerful on a bike, your chances of scaring yourself are significantly higher. And as I mentioned near the top, fear is a big limiting factor in your growth. You also become too reliant on rider aids or safety features instead of actually developing strong riding skills. Mistakes are also amplified on a bigger bike, so your fear of consequences may reduce your willingness to push yourself. Power output aside, your bike may be limiting your skill if it's too heavy or large. Low-speed maneuvers are more challenging on a big bike. Big bikes are also more resistant to changes in orientation, which makes cornering much more rigorous. You also want to focus on technique and less muscling around a huge motorcycle. And lastly, maybe you just chose the wrong style of bike in the first place. Maybe you just can't get used to the committed position of a fully faired sport bike, and moving to a naked bike will allow you to take your riding to the next level. Or maybe you started on a cruiser, which is not really suited for any type of sporty riding, and switching to a sportier bike will make everything from counter steering to slow speed maneuvers feel 100 times easier. While it's not fair to entirely blame your lack of progress on the bike, any bike can do whatever you want it to do, having a motorcycle that's too big, too powerful, or the wrong style can certainly make continual progress more challenging. And lastly, you might not be progressing because you're just not challenging yourself enough. If you stay completely within your comfort zone every time you ride, you're not going to grow very much. It's obviously important to stay safe on your bike, and you don't want to rush into anything you don't feel confident about. But as you continue riding, it's definitely important to get outside of your comfort zone and try new things. If you always ride the same roads, the same bike, or with the same people, you're limiting the scope of your ability. You gotta put yourself out there to experience new challenges. If you're only riding the same roads you know, you'll have less practice in navigating new corners. It can be nice riding the same roads and already knowing at which speeds to take certain turns, but it's definitely valuable to ride in different places where you must exercise caution and make judgments in real time. Even things like riding in traffic or riding on the freeway might not be your ideal situations, but experiencing those scenarios will allow you to practice different skills and improve your situational awareness. Nobody wants to ride in the rain, but every time you do so, you'll be a little bit better at riding when traction may be reduced. It's easy to get complacent in your riding journey. You know what roads you like to ride on, you know what type of bike you like, but without putting yourself out there to experience new things, you're missing out on opportunities to learn. So take a new route one day, try out a track day, try some off-road riding, be humbled, go outside of your comfort zone, and you're likely to come out the other end of it a better motorcyclist. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. What's your biggest roadblock when it comes to progressing on your bike? Starting on a Turbo Hayabusa, and none of this is going to apply to you. You're just a god amongst men. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Fact: Coca-Cola is older than the Eiffel Tower. Goodbye. Well, boys, that's the end of the show for today, but there's always a new video tomorrow. Every single day, there's a Yami Noob video. While you wait for the next one to queue up, become a member on YamiNoob.co and join to win this amazing Triumph Street Triple 765 RS that's right next to me. Cosmic yellow, street performance, track performance, a sonorous 3-cylinder. It has it all. Make sure you join on YamiNoob.co and don't delay.